You woke up in the morning, opened your refrigerator, grabbed a bottle of cold water, took a refreshing sip, and got on with your day. It took just 2 seconds. You probably didn't even think about it. But just 200 years ago, those 2 seconds didn't exist, and the price humanity paid for that was enormous. Every year, millions of people died from spoiled food, contaminated water, and unbearable heat that no one knew how to escape. Doctors understood why people were dying, but they had no way to stop it. Until one man came along, a man the world called crazy, a man whose invention was mocked, a man who never received the recognition he deserved during his lifetime. This isn't just the history of the refrigerator. It's the story of one man's dream, his struggle, and how time almost erased his name. London, 1854. At the time, it was the most advanced city in the world. Food cooked in the morning would spoil by afternoon. Milk turned sour within hours. Meat bought from the market would start to stink before sunset. And this wasn't just the suffering of the poor, it was the reality of an entire era. Rich or poor, everyone faced the same problem. But there was something even more dangerous than spoiled food, water. In London's Broad Street neighborhood, more than 500 people died within a single week because of a single water pump. Unknown to the residents, sewage had leaked into the well beneath it. Cholera spread so rapidly that before doctors could understand what was happening, half the neighborhood had already been wiped out. Parents watched their children die in agony, completely helpless. If this was the condition of London, the most developed city on earth, you can imagine what the rest of the world was like. It was in this world, under these conditions, that a doctor in a small town in Florida went to his hospital every single night, and almost every night, another patient died before his eyes. Dr. John Gorrie wasn't a famous physician from a great city. He didn't have a prestigious university degree or a well-known name. He was simply a man who couldn't bear watching his patients suffer. Florida's heat was a different kind of torture, humid, suffocating, the kind of heat that made even breathing feel exhausting. His patients, many of them suffering from malaria, burned with high fevers. Their bodies were on fire, and there was nothing he could do to ease their pain. There was only one thing that brought them relief: ice. But Florida had no natural ice. They had to be shipped thousands of miles from New England, making it so expensive that only the wealthy could afford it. Night after night, Gorrie sat alone in his empty hospital, asking himself the same question: what if I could cool the room itself? Maybe, just maybe, these patients could survive. People laughed at him. One newspaper mocked him, writing, "This doctor believes he can play God by making artificial ice." But Gorrie didn't care. Who had poured his own savings into it? Who had done it all for one simple reason: because he couldn't bear to watch his patients die, was left completely alone. In 1855, Dr. John Gorrie died broke, alone, and without any recognition. His machine remained locked away in a room, gathering dust, and the world moved on, as if John Gorrie had never existed. But ideas never die. That's the remarkable thing about them. They don't die with the people who first imagined them. Nearly 20 years after Gorrie's death, a German engineer accomplished what Gorrie never had the chance to achieve. He picked up Gorrie's dream, made it practical, and changed the world forever. Germany, the 1870s. A young engineer named Carl von Linde was teaching at the University of Munich. Linde was an exceptionally brilliant engineer. He looked at every problem through the eyes of engineering, convinced that every challenge had a solution waiting to be discovered. Then one day, a major problem landed on his desk: the breweries of Bavaria. In Bavaria, brewing beer wasn't just a business, it was part of the region's identity. But brewing beer required cold temperatures, and keeping things cold during the summer was almost impossible. Every year, breweries were forced to shut down for months because there simply wasn't enough ice. Owners were losing enormous amounts of money, and no permanent solution existed. Linde accepted the challenge. He carefully studied Gorrie's work, along with the experiments of other scientists who had come before him. He realized the idea had always been right. It simply needed to become practical, reliable, and efficient. After years of research, in 1876, Carl von Linde built a refrigeration machine that didn't just work, it worked continuously, day after day, without stopping. the breweries of Bavaria installed his machine. For the first time in history, beer production continued throughout the summer. When brewery owners realized it actually worked, the news spread rapidly. Soon, slaughterhouses adopted the technology to preserve meat for much longer. Then hospitals installed it. Then warehouses. Wherever cooling was needed, Lynn's refrigeration machines began to appear. The dream that John Gorrie had once imagined. The dream of a man the world had called insane. The dream of a man who died alone and forgotten was finally becoming reality, but refrigeration still hadn't reached ordinary home. John Gorrie's machine was huge, so huge that it looked like it belonged in a factory or a warehouse, not inside an ordinary house. That became the next great challenge. At the beginning of the 20th century, engineers and companies around the world were trying to answer one question: how could refrigeration be made smaller, faster, and affordable for ordinary families? In 1913, the first home refrigerator was introduced, but it was so large that it occupied a significant part of the kitchen, so noisy that people struggled to sleep at night, and so expensive that only wealthy families and Hollywood stars could afford it. For the average person, owning a refrigerator was still a distant dream. The real breakthrough came in 1927, when General Electric launched the Monitor Top refrigerator. It was the first refrigerator that was genuinely designed for middle-class households. It had a practical size, reliable performance, and a price that was considered affordable for its time. Slowly, refrigerators began finding their way into homes across America, but India's story was completely different. By the time refrigerators were becoming common in the United States, India was still under British rule. As mentioned earlier, ice and cold storage were luxuries reserved for British officials and the wealthy elite. For ordinary Indians, refrigeration remained far beyond reach. Even after independence, refrigerators were still just a dream. Imported models were extremely expensive, and no company in India was manufacturing them locally. Then, in 1955, one name stepped forward: Godrej. Until then, Godrej was known mainly for manufacturing locks and safes, but the company realized that India needed a refrigerator designed specifically for Indian conditions, one that could handle the country's scorching summers, frequent voltage fluctuations, and the budget of an average household. In 1958, Godrej introduced one of India's first domestically manufactured refrigerators. It was more than just a household appliance. For a middle-class Indian family, bringing a Godrej refrigerator home was a milestone. It was often gifted at weddings. When someone in the neighborhood bought a refrigerator, people would come just to see it. It wasn't merely an expensive machine, it was a symbol of respect, progress, and the feeling that life was moving forward. Yet, even by 1980, only about 1% of Indian households owned a refrigerator. Today, that number has grown to more than 35%. This isn't just a statistic, it represents the progress of millions of families. The impact of refrigeration on human civilization is almost impossible to measure because it has become so deeply woven into everyday life that we hardly notice it anymore. Vaccines that save millions of lives every year simply couldn't exist without refrigeration. Delivering polio vaccines to remote villages, preserving hepatitis vaccines, and maintaining countless other life-saving medicines all depend on the cold chain and unbroken system of refrigeration that keeps vaccines at the right temperature from the manufacturing facility all the way to the moment a child receives the injection. Blood bags, organ transplants, insulin, cancer medicines, none of these would be possible without reliable refrigeration. And all of this began with the dream of one man who was ignored. Think about that lonely night when John Gorrie sat by himself. His money was gone. His investors had abandoned him. The world had laughed at him, but he still built his machine. The world may have forgotten his name, but it never escaped the future he created. The machine the world rejected is now present in almost every home.